Hello everyone, and today what we're going to be talking about is getting started with TIBCO Spotfire and actually going through the process of how you would get started with installation and some of the key functionalities and go-to spots that you're going to need as far as help, assistance, and anything you're going to need to get started. So the first thing I'm going to point out is this is only for the Spotfire on-premise server version. If you are using Spotfire Cloud or a standalone desktop client, this video is not for you. I will be releasing a Spotfire Cloud getting started video very soon. By the way, any links that I reference, including that cloud video when it comes out, will be in the description below. So let's get started. The first thing I'd like to point out is when you buy and purchase Spotfire, the on-prem version, you're going to receive an email. On that email is going to be, first and foremost, the sign up for a TIBCO account if you haven't done it already. And the first site you're going to go to is the e-delivery. So this is actually where you're going to download Spotfire itself. So there's two things you're going to need to install Spotfire. The first one is the TIBCO Spotfire Server. I'm just going to go through the search bar to show you the process. And it's going to show you all the downloads that are available here. So you just need to scroll down, click download, and notice there was a checkbox to choose to have you emailed if there's ever an update. Feel free to hit that. It's always good to know when we're having new releases. As far as the OS goes, as wherever you're going to be deploying your Spotfire server, go ahead and choose this one. I'll just choose Windows. Hit the license acceptance agreement. And there's going to be two methods, full product or individual file. Typically, I use the individual file, and this is just for Windows, right? So what I do here is you can see if you're planning on supporting multiple languages, go ahead and deploy that. This is for more development and any other things that are necessary on top of that. But to do a basic install, really all you need is to expand this one right here, go down to the WinZip and click that. There's going to be an executable and a batch file in there for you to run, which in the documentation will show you how to actually download that server. So if you want to save time and not do the full download, just hit that WinZip, or in the case of Linux, it's going to be that same zip folder that's going to have all the Linux distributions. So with that, I'll also switch over to Spotfire really quick. Once you've downloaded the tool, the one thing I'm going to point out is how to add new users. So we're just going to go to Tools, Administration Manager. Just to point out, when you do the full Spotfire install, not only in that e-delivery are you going to need to look up TIBCO Spotfire Server, but you're also going to need to look up TIBCO Spotfire Analyst, which will also have an individual file download for the WinZip that you can just download without needing anything else, because within this desktop tool is where you'll set all the users permissioning. So once you go to that administration manager, you can see here when I do select all my different users for this Spotfire system, I have the ability to create new users. Of course, if you're integrated with an LDAP, these users should already show up that are integrated with that system. All you need to do is give them a basic password, a username, and that will be done. From there, what you need to do is assign them into a group. Typically, we recommend a group for every license level, so one for the analysts, one's for the consumers, one for the business authors. And then if you want to impose any security or restrictions, add a second group. So remember, users can actually be in multiple groups. And from there, when you create those groups, you can edit which members are there and assign the licenses for each of those users. So this is going to allow you to choose what people have access to. Our documentation does cover which ones each level, whether it's analyst, business author, or the consumer, which ones you should be checking off. So with that, I'll switch back over to our web portion. for the second part of the demo. So some further sites that you really need to know as you're going through the install process is, of course, the documentation. So notice the site docs.tibco.com. When you're doing a Spotfire server download, all you need to do is type in the particular version you're looking for. So whether it's a certain user license, Spotfire server, or Spotfire Cloud, if you're in that version, you would be able to do that here. All you need to do is type that particular product. We'll just do the on-prem server as an example, and you're going to see not only user guides in an HTML format, but also the install help and some of the API references, depending on which version you click. It also allows you to backtrack versions, so if you're on an older version, you'll be able to do that. So I'll just click on this HTML link, and you're going to see it's a step-by-step guide that takes you through the entire install process as far as pre and post installation steps, administration, going through hotfixes or upgrades. Everything you need to know is here when you go through the entire process. So I think it's pretty neat. You can just actually go in, and at the end of each section, there's normally a click on this as the next step. From there, the other things I like to point out, if you run into any trouble while using Spotfire or any problems with the installation, there's two places you can look. The first one I'm going to point out is the Tibco community site. So here is the kind of basic go-to for all Tibco products if you ever have any issues. So feel free to look them up. They're all broken down by products, broken down by topics, as far as answers to questions, a wiki for Spotfire. So if you look up the product wiki, it's very easy to navigate to that particular section and break it down by products. So if I go and click products here, sort by our analytics tools, we'll scroll down to the Spotfire one. You're going to notice all the information here as far as the wiki, and that's going to be all your basic information, but also you can search questions if you want to do that instead. And you can see they're all broken down by topics, use cases, and a bunch of different information here. The next thing I'm going to point out is our support portal. So typically in that individual email where you get the e-delivery file, you also get access to the support portal, which you would also be able to sign up for under your Tibco account. Once you've signed into that support portal, the basic things I like to point out is if you run into any issues, sometimes we have a knowledge base that posts articles related to that. Feel free to search for your issue first and see if someone else has gone through it. That way you can actually go and fix the problem on your own, and it's going to be a lot faster than waiting on communications from the support team. If that issue has not been done and you want to just work with someone live, what you're going to do is scroll down and either click the Cases tab or just click a new case. You're going to see your customer account name when you type in, so the name of your company typically. Go ahead and type that in there. It's going to ask, you won't see the engagement type or this because this is only for Tibco employees. But you will see products. So typically once you type your account name, the products are going to be filtered by only ones that your company has bought. So you'll see either Spotfire or Server, Analyst, whatever one that you're currently tied to. So what you'll do is actually type the name of the product. So if it's an issue that you had with your server, you would type in the server. Otherwise, if it was an issue with your desktop license, you would type in Tibco Spotfire Analyst. From there, what's going to happen is I'll do an example. It's going to ask for your version. It's going to ask for your environment. By the way, you're going to actually have an option to save this environment profile or a previous usage. So you can look and see what the version is. You can type in the subject, so we'll just do test and test. And it's going to ask what environment. So for example, what operating system is this in production? What hardware are you using, and all of the information, whether it's a virtualized platform. And the reason these are important, of course, is because our support team typically tries to take your use case and recreate it within our own environment. It actually helps us fix these problems faster. My notes typically is within the description. You're going to want to be very, very thorough. It typically increases the time instead of just leaving a quick one-sentence description. That's not really going to help us, and it's going to slow us down in getting back to you on answers. Priority. Basically, you need to justify high and urgent. Those typically mean that your service is not working. So this problem is physically causing your service not to work. That's when you would put in urgent to high. Normal is just an issue where something's not working correctly, but it hasn't delayed your service. Low is just a random question that you want to ask. If you want to include people within your company or your TIPCO sales representatives in the CC list, go ahead and add them here. From there, you would continue with the creation of the case. You can save it as a profile, which I mentioned earlier, and you would submit the case. So the last thing I'll point out is for that, when you create the case, you also have the ability to attach files. I'll go ahead and go to this one as a sample. You can see you'll have comments between you and the user. You will be notified via email anytime a support rep updates this. But I can also create attachments to those here. So typically a good attachment to always include is the log file for the server or the analyst that you're running. That's always a great thing to have because it makes it a lot faster for us to work with. Also, screenshots are always great. So typically the first question a lot of our support reps ask is, can you recreate the issue and show us a screenshot? So if you do that off the bat, that's going to be a lot better for us to be able to answer. So with that, those are all the resources for being able to deploy Spotfire, install it, and get started with your company. So as far as this goes, I'm going to have a separate video for Spotfire Cloud. But with that, thank you for watching, and hopefully you're able to get started with Spotfire a lot easier, and you now know the resources that you can reach out to.